Higher education began as a privileged institution, designed to advance a certain kind of student and exclude others. Although generations have fought to broaden access to colleges and universities, privilege continues to shape higher learning in the 21st century. Education at the most basic level is the process of gaining knowledge and skills. Within the U.S., we are socially constructed to believe that a college education is a necessity rather than an option. It is something that is required to be considered successful.
Besides the fact that I wanted to prove to everyone this black girl is about to go to college and graduate with her bachelor's and then go get her master's, all of that and the above. To be honest, and I kind of just wanted to prove to myself you're not what they want to. I grew up in a neighborhood where some people would consider that the hood, and so anything to get not to get out of that, but to be able to give back to that and improve my own personal self-worth and self-credit and things like that, that meant a lot to me. So by getting a college degree, I increased how much I'm worth, to be honest.
As of 2015, 56% of undergraduates nationally were first generation college students, meaning neither parent had a bachelor's degree, and 59% of these students were also the first siblings in their family to go to college.
So my mom never finished college, and whether or not my dad actually finished college is a mystery to me. Basically, my family has a weird history with college. I'm the first person to go to actual college.
Rising price of tuition has become another barrier that privileges wealthy students. Although the cost of college more than doubled between 1974 and 2012, the maximum Pell Grant, which was designed to support low-income students, remained relatively stagnant.
So applying to college, I had good grades in high school. The only thing was the money thing of a lot of loans, a lot of school loans were denied, and it's I was accepted here at Emporia, and I knew that I wanted to go to Emporia and everything. But it got down to summer before school started, and I was I had my schedule made for the fall for Emporia, and I literally sat there and I was I'm gonna have to go to the community college because I don't know how I'm gonna pay for this.
Additionally, another prevalent barrier in pursuing higher education was race and cultural background.
When we take into consideration racial backgrounds and cultural backgrounds, one of the biggest things that I had to be mindful of, that I know other students of color are mindful of, is what is the culture at Drake? How do they feel about, about a student of color? I don't know. I'm trying to think of an example. But those questions are just as important as how much money am I going to get from this institution? What are what are some of student organizations or some hobbies that I can get into as a student at this college? Those questions are just as important as what's the environment like towards a student who is bilingual? What's the environment like to a Black student during Paint It Black or during the George Floyd thing and stuff like that? So I think it's really important. It plays a strong relationship between the both of them.
In the college application process, you are asked to define your race and ethnicity into boxes. No student is deterred from applying or entering into a predominantly white institution, yet there are more subtle barriers to admission, and even when admitted, that can increase the likelihood of thriving on campus.
So I have to always check too. And sometimes certain databases do not have it where you can check to, so then I have to click other. And I'm okay, well, I'm not an other.
I don't know. I see both sides of the fence. I see race and ethnicity is not supposed to be a factor in the formal admissions process, but it is. It really is. Because there's that box that they can mark now. So even though the admissions process is very holistic, I do think race factors into it a bit.
Oh, well, if this is on there and they're gonna be looking at that, it makes me nervous because if I had to pick Black or white, I would always choose Black. And I knew that for me, when it came to knowing that they were gonna look at that box, I was well, don't disregard everything else as a part of my application. I'm proud of who I am, but it made me feel cautious because that's how it is. That's how it's been. College hasn't always been for Black people. So
Yeah. So I guess I can take this from multiple perspectives, right? As an alumni, as a student that was a part of the Cruise College program, and now as an employee, I could see more people involved in DEI conversations. When I was a student here at Drake, there are probably 5 people that I can name off that if something happened on campus, I could run to that person and be like, okay, they get it. They're involved in this work. They appreciate diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now as an employee, I could see this being more of a, I could see this being more of an issue that's on the forefront of a lot of people's minds, right?
College has always been important to Madison's family. Both her mother and stepdad worked in higher education with equity and inclusion offices. Her older brother went to college right after high school but never finished. Madison was determined to be the first of her siblings to go to a 4-year college after high school and finish those 4 years consecutively. And as Jaslyn noted, DEI is improving on campuses slowly but surely with the help of programming, clubs, and services tailored to students of color. A large number of colleges have worked to create programming within their schools as a means of improving the system and disparities that lead to difficulties accessing college. These programs offer help with both financial and diversity concerns. These have varied in their format, however. One thing that has been noticed is the ways that those who are not disadvantaged learn to manipulate and take advantage of these opportunities for themselves.
Parkland Pathway Program, and basically it was like a bridge program to really encourage for transfer students to attend the university. And what we did is created a Parkland Pathway Program with the local community college, Parkland, but it was meant to really help students who might not be ready for that 4-year college experience. But I have to say, and it was meant for obviously students, a lot of racially and ethnically diverse students go to Parkland. It was developed for very good reasons. Mm-hmm. But as the years went on, I saw, a lot of loopholes, a lot of students from, not so racially and ethnically diverse backgrounds and higher socioeconomic status kind of manipulate the system in such a way that they would get kind of a backdoor admissions to the university.
Despite the fact that the programs are still manipulated to benefit the privileged, there has been some implementation of programs that have made improvements.
Amazing programs and resources that have been, and again, I have, being on campus for 22 years, I've seen so much growth and so much change, and, mostly for the better. Yes, there are a lot of programs, a lot of resources that are used as recruiting tools, but then are also used, once you are here, once you are on campus, look what you have that's available for you to use. All these things have really, evolved over the past 22 years. So again, in the resources that we do provide once a student is here, I think there's been an amazing increase in those programs and those resources that students can access, like tutoring and cultural centers and, being paired with student mentors and that sort of thing too. Yeah, so I think the resource that we do provide once they're here has definitely improved over the years, for sure.
Colleges have started to create programs that help minority students once they've entered the college system and made it to campus. These increased programming is one of the first steps to breaking down the barriers of privilege in college. However, despite these improvements for when students get into college, there are still a number of disadvantages that make the process of getting into college extremely difficult for minority students. There is still a lot of work that needs to be done in order to truly break down the reproductive system of privilege that is the college education system today.